Hi, I'm Don Egan. I'm the founder of RSVP Trust, where lives are transformed and the poor are empowered. And this is the Portable Jesus. Hello, and thanks for joining me in this, our third in the series of our Advent thoughts. As you may have seen in the previous two videos, John has already told us that Jesus is the Word of God and that he was coming into the world. John also wrote about Jesus being the light that is coming into the world. And last time we looked at light coming into the darkness, light coming into our darkness. But now he turns his attention to John the Baptist, and he says there was a man sent from God, his name was John. And then he begins to describe John the Baptist as the forerunner, or the one preparing the way of Christ. And so how did John propose that we prepare for the coming of Christ? As we follow the story of John the Baptist through the Gospels, we see that he called people to look inward and prepare themselves, prepare their hearts to receive Christ. And this is a great time of year to take the opportunity to be still. While the commercial world is cranking up for Christmas and spending all sorts of money that maybe we don't have to impress people we might not even like, in the world of nature we can see the trees and the plants closing down, being still, some of them dying back. But the outward growth stops, and it's more about the roots and the inward part of the plant preparing for the winter and ready for the new growth in spring. And so in our walk of following Christ, this is a good time of year to be still, to pray and to meditate. In recent years I've found the contemplation, the meditation, the being still and silent prayer a great way to reconnect with God. What I realise is that so many of the followers of Jesus have never encountered the silence, the stillness, the contemplation, the deep being still so that we connect with the living God. And if that's you and you don't know how to go about the more contemplative side of Christian prayer, no problem. I'm preparing some videos on how to do that very practically. There isn't time in this short video to go into all the ways of contemplative prayer, but at this time of Advent we think about being still, being prayerful and being expectant of the coming of Christ. One of the ways I like to think about this is when I was much younger, in my teenage years, I used to meet Hazel, who's now my wife. She was then my girlfriend. We used to meet in the middle of Manchester. I used to get down to the centre of town before her, and she would come in from another part of town on the number 192 bus. And the thing about the 192 buses, they run every 2 minutes. So I used to get down there where the bus came to a terminus and wait at the bus stop. And every time a bus came in, I was looking, is she on this one? And often she wasn't on that one, and you wait for the next one. No, she's not on that one. And that's a kind of illustration of the way of waiting expectantly for spiritual things. Eventually a bus came, she was on it, we were together and we had a date that day. And so the waiting for Christ during Advent involves us being still and waiting in the silence and the stillness until Christ himself appears in our hearts. A good thing to do during this season of waiting is to look for the John the Baptist in our life. Where is the person or the situation, the moment or the bit of nature or a thought that occurs to us that's the John the Baptist calling us to be still, to look inward and be expectantly waiting for Christ to come into our situation? Who is your John the Baptist? Who is my John the Baptist calling us to turn to Christ? I find walking in nature incredibly inspiring, and looking at the trees and the plants, the rivers, the ocean, if you go walk along the coast, all these things I find speak to me deep within and call me closer to the God that I follow. But for you it may be something else, and that's fine. We're all different. But who is your John the Baptist calling you to be still, to look inward, to be at peace and to be expectant, looking for the coming of Christ? That's the question I want to leave you with today. Who or what is your John the Baptist calling you to look inwards, be still and be expectant for God to do something in your life? And I can't recommend strongly enough this process of being still and being silent and listening to God. That's really how this whole ministry of RSVP Trust started back in 1994, by being still, by being expectant, by listening to God, trying to follow his direction, and out of that have come all the wonderful things that we've done in Africa and the UK, both me and Alison in her ministry, and all our wonderful supporters who make that possible. All that came from being still, being silent, and listening for the voice of God within. If you do find these videos helpful, there are several ways you can help us. Firstly is just on YouTube, clicking the red subscribe button and press that little bell icon so you get notifications of new videos. You can also donate to our work at RSVP Trust by going to rsvptrust.co.uk/donate. And there you can make a one-off gift or a monthly donation. You can just set that up online, no problem. I really appreciate those who watch these videos. Do feel free to comment, either respond to an email or comment on Facebook or comment on YouTube, wherever you found this video. Feel free to comment and we can have some connection. So thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you in next week's video, the fourth and final in this Advent series, before we move on to Christmas videos.